Hi,
Hey, Supam.
so
Hey, guys. Gunshin.
hope you are doing well.
Oh, is it loud on my side?
No, it's okay. I think for
Okay.
me, it's okay.
Oh, you know what? Hold on one second. I've got a heater, a space heater in the room, and it's shutting off. It's very loud.
Oh,
Okay, very good. The space heater is turned off, so no more loud fan. Good. Yeah. I think you'd said how am I doing?
yeah.
Yeah, no, really, really well actually. Since last time that we spoke, I think Shubham, you're aware that I was finally able to meet with one of your professors, Rupa.
Mr. Das or Refined Das.
Yeah, that's right. So I did. So I ended up putting together, uh, and actually, I ended up putting together a small partnership agreement. Um, that would outline hopefully a few resources that the school would get to you guys. Um, maybe I'll share what that looks like here, in part because it's might be of interest to Sachin as well. Uh, let's see. Okay, so as I go to do that, I'm going to put the link to the meeting minutes in the chat, and I will share those as well. Here, and so so we've got Subham, Gunjan, Sachin, and then so I guess first topic I said I'd spoken with Professor Das. So let's look at that agreement. Let me find this. So Sachin, remind me, what university are you going to? Okay, and then Sachin, if you're there and you're able to, yeah, all right, so Sachin and Nidin, which universities do you guys go to? I forget. And so I ask because on Saturday, no, Friday night, last Friday night, my time, I met with Professor Das of UEM Jaipur, who I think a number of you know, and some of you have introduced me to. And I went through a little bit of what I considered to be a partnership agreement with respect to why it is that we're um, joining forces, the fact that we're already partnered with the University of Texas in Austin, and how well some of you guys are already doing. Um, and then I started to talk about what it is that I would hope that we would do together, and that's to do a bit of recruitment um, with the university and the students, to do some collaboration with hopefully like to the extent that we can find available rooms um, for you guys to have these calls from, and maybe that would mean we would need to meet either earlier in your day or in the morning or something so that it's convenient to meet from school, if that helps. Sometimes I think it helps just for bandwidth. Um, anyway, this document kind of goes through different things like extra credit, or if someone's doing an internship, to receive course credit entirely. Um, and so just have a day of presentation, have different lectures to make sure that we're elevating and recognizing the works that you guys are doing, and doing it in context of the university. So we haven't finalized this agreement or some of those details, or rather all of the details. However, the Professor Das and I had a great call. As a matter of fact, I think I got the sense that he was somewhat maybe personally interested in the project, and so that's great as well. Um, but for Ashish, Gunjan, Subham, I know that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and I also hope so that our colleagues for the
Yeah, yeah, okay,
and
okay.
actually we are I think we are planning some workshops so that other students get to know about Meshery or about GitHub or open source. Uh, so as we are not maybe Vision and artists can do because I Nikhil and Anand are not in the campus. So I think Kunjan and Ashish.
Oh yeah, Shubham, you're hard to hear, but I think you were saying that you guys are already working toward trying to spread the word about open source and Meshery, and helping, and that would be helping people learn GitHub, and but I didn't quite hear all of what you'd said. But yeah, totally, and that's in part what I'm hoping to do, is give them feedback on their curriculum as well, to help um, to make sure that you guys are studying marketable things, and that you'll have marketable skills. Um, so I'm excited about it. It's good. I think actually that the document is probably in a place where I can maybe share that with the rest of you guys. So yeah, so progress. Okay, well, so let's, since we've just got a handful of us, let's we might be able to dive fairly deeply into some various pieces of work. Um, does anyone have topics that they want to bring up to discuss today? Okay, okay. Let me maybe let me bring up a couple of things. So Gunjan, you're with us, right? You've got, we can hear you pretty good, I think.
Really, am I audible?
Yep, there you are.
Yeah, so I think Nikhil might not be able to join this meeting as we all were on for outing so maybe he will not able to join to this.
Okay, so maybe not Nikhil. He has recently delivered a few things, which has been nice. I actually do have another ask of Nikhil, um, but since he's not here, I'll hold off. Uh, okay. Is Ashish with us? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hey Ashish. Hey guys. Uh, well, I'm gonna go call. I'm gonna start calling you guys out one by one and see what if you've got anything active that you're doing, and if not, let's talk about something new. So Ashish, for you, any uh, active items that you're working on that we should talk about?
So basically, so I fixed some of the issues last week, as well as some of the issue which you assigned me, and so rest of them are left to be fixed. So I will be working on that. Like you said, now we need to add more resources in that layer 5IO website under the resources section. So I will be working on that, as well as animating that logo for the workshop page as well.
Nice.
I was
Okay.
not that active, but we're working on it. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. You know what? Actually, it's probably worth talking about a little bit. And that is, I'll ask this. So for Nitin and Sachin, I'm trying to recall, do either of the two of you guys focus, or do either of the two of you enjoy doing some front end things? Um,
Not from my side.
okay, not Sachin. Okay,
So yeah, yes, I do some front end earlier, so I can help.
nice. Okay, well, maybe we'll just so so Sachin, hold that thought for a minute. I guess let's Ashish and Nitin, maybe let's walk through um, just a couple of small things that, at least for my part, are that are fairly interesting. So I'll say this, that we have lots of, that we've there is a workshop that we do that is posted for anyone to go and walk through the workshop in a self-service fashion. Most of you, I know Shubham for sure, and pretty sure I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of the fact that there's a free workshop out there, that this one that kind of walks you through understanding Istio better. But as it does it, it uses Meshery to help you understand Istio, and that but we also give this workshop at various conferences. So we've given it at DockerCon and KubeCon and quite a few conferences. And we'll be giving it even, again, at a couple upcoming, at OzCon, at Infrastructure and Ops. And we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep building on it. We'll make it better and better and better. And hopefully we'll make it so that it's not just Istio specific, but it's generic across a few different types of service meshes. And so one of the things that, oh, okay, yeah. So Sacha and I didn't, it's just, here's the URL. Definitely, it's certainly worth your while to go through and do it. Each of these workshops that are here, the lab section, they all just point to the same GitHub repository. So it's this repository that you would walk through. It basically, it kind of takes you through getting going with Meshery as a user. And then part of doing that, you've got to run Docker, you've got to run Kubernetes, you run Meshery, and it helps deploy Istio, and then lets you play with Istio and deploy a sample app, and then configure the app. And it's kind of nice because it takes you through a fair bit. It really helps show off the power of a service mesh, particularly when you get into the traffic control section. There's a lot of interesting telemetry that you get out of a service mesh, which is great. But then um, these traffic control things are really cool. The way that you can manipulate traffic without changing your app, without anyways, it's neat. As you guys go through it, which I think some of you already have, and those that haven't, like just like Shubham did when he went through it, be sure to call out any issues that you find, and or submit a PR or what have you, because it is something that we've given for the last, coming up on 2 years now, about 18 months we've been giving it, and we'll be giving it for another year or more. And actually, for Sachin and for anyone else who's interested, at the point by which you guys feel comfortable and maybe delivering it yourselves, I will help you do that. I'll help you make sure that you're tooled up in the right way, that you've got the right level of confidence to do it. or support while you're doing it. I could support you remotely, in Slack while your students are coming on. Or I can help make sure that you get accepted to a conference so that you can give it. So it doesn't just have to be this, though. It can be something, this is relatively involved. It can be something much simpler. Maybe it's just a presentation to introduce people to Meshery or what have you. So just miss.
Am I audible?
Yep.
Can you switch to lab 4 of that workshop?
Yeah. Let's see, lab 4.
Go to 4.2 of this lab. Yeah, in the, just stop there. Okay. Browse to slash graph in option 2. There's browse to slash graph. I forgot to open an issue that earlier I was working on an issue where I have to remove slash graph or
Oh, yeah.
any term after the IP and port. So like I forgot to open an issue. We can open an issue to like edit the lab or workshop.
Nice. So the Prometheus URL doesn't require slash graph. You can just do.
And I think Grafana also, Prometheus and Grafana both are included. I think, not sure, but like
Okay. Also, I think the Istio request count may have changed. I guess I won't put it in here since I'm not sure. But yeah, great. Yeah, whoop, what happened there? But any of you guys are certainly welcome to go fix this as well. As a matter of fact, I think it would have taken as much time to go fix to remove the slash graph as it would have to have opened the issue. But yeah, please do go through it, learn a bunch, hopefully, and fix it as you go. What were we saying? I was saying that we have these workshops, and my point of saying all of this was to say for Nidden, so for Sachin, the workshop hopefully is very interesting, and you learn about it. Maybe you'll deliver it someday, or a different talk. But for Nidden and Ashish, a quick note about some UI, a little bit of what I hope is interesting UI work, where when people come to look at the workshop, they come to this page in layer5io/workshops, and we've recently got put up a nice little SVG, just a little graphic that shows people studying Docker and Kubernetes, Meshery, the layer 5 community, Kubernetes. And what I've been hoping for recently is a bit of animation, SVG animation. This is one SVG, but actually there's a collection of others that could be animated. So it could be this one or others, and the animation can be whatever you think is interesting to do. Maybe it's just moving this person's arm. Maybe it's just having this slide back and forth as this person is walking. But it's basically, there's a few different ways to do SVG animation. And I think probably the best approach is to just do it in CSS, using using either keyframes. There's a few a few CSS. I don't know what the right word is. I don't know if it's keywords or built-ins that you can use to do that. And so actually, maybe I shouldn't have brought up this topic because I don't have any handy examples of like this being done. I mean, there are very clearly many examples on the web of how to use CSS to animate SVGs, but it can be something small. I thought I would point it out because it's kind of nice. Each of these, this Meshery icon, the landscape icon, the performance one, the GSOC one, these are all SVGs as well. So you can imagine something like the performance one, just like this is an SVG that I made actually, so it's just very simple. You could imagine just this dial sort of moving a little bit. Anyway, I thought it would be something fun to play with, and it would make this site a little more interactive. Ultimately, kind of the same thing for Meshery.io. This is a decent, more or less single page site today. It's okay, but as any of you go out and look at other projects, other open source projects, I'm just randomly pulling up like fluxcd.io. This is another open source project. It is just a single page thing. This is as far as it goes. But if you take and look at some of what they have on the page, like basically anytime you click, you'll just be taken into the docs, and that's what it is for Flux. That's okay. What I'm saying is, if you take a look at other projects, we would want to make sure that the Meshery.io page, has all those same pieces of information, because what we really want for people to pick up the project and use it and understand it. So you could look at a network service mesh site, which is networkservicemesh.io, and what things that they have. They have a community, events. As a matter of fact, we presented Meshery at their last NSM Con in right here. So I went and Garish did. We were collaborating with Lumina Networks at the time, so that they spoke as well. Anyway, my point is that Ashish is not only looking into potentially animating an SVG or two, but also looking at taking a lot of the talks that we do about Meshery and making sure that they're represented on layer 5 IO under what would essentially be something very similar like /events, which is something that we don't have today. But we actually do go around talking about Meshery quite a bit. As a matter of fact, the list of talks that we have and the workshops that we'll be giving, those same workshops, we often will review those in the community meeting, because the community meeting, we generally talk a bit more broadly about various things going on. And so one of those things is where it is that we're giving presentations. So actually it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 listed here, but actually in this time there have been 2 more that are here as well that I haven't added, but we'll talk about it on Friday. My point is, there's some awesome, there's lots of discussion and new users being introduced to Meshery, and we should be telling them where it is that they can come and engage with see a demonstration or talk to one of us about the project. So anytime that any of you want to talk about the project or write about the project, and you'd maybe like to get your name out there on a blog post like Rafi did. Rafi is a contributor that lives in Canada. Don't hesitate. Let's do it. Let's get some content up here. Let's get your name up there. One of the things that Ashish was looking at, and frankly, I think this is a really great way to bolster your name, your resume, and your knowledge. And that is, there's a bunch of just little tidbits, little tips and tricks about using a service mesh that many people have questions on, and I have a long list of what those are and what the answers to those are. Um, those are, but they just need, those are things that just need to be written up. So I guess like if you got, so if we write those up and we end up getting them posted, that would be fantastic. We want to make sure that Layer 5 is a repository of information for people to come and learn about all of the meshes. So that's that topic. That's a little bit of what Ashish is doing. Let me know if any of you want to do the stuff that I just described. I'll make sure I support you in doing so. Okay, very good. And then other stuff to talk about. So Shubham had recently looked at adding TCP support for the load generation, basically for the performance testing. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Sachin, with your back-end focus, this might be something, this particular issue, let me find it and bring it up. It's a little bit involved, and Shubham has gone to look at it some. I think, a question or two have come up. Garish and Sako were two of the individuals that were focused in this area previously and have some background on it. So I'll put this link in the meeting minutes. But so this particular area, right now, when you use Meshery and you do a performance test, it generates HTTP traffic. That's great. It works well. But there's also a need to support TCP traffic, so things that aren't just HTTP in nature. There's also a request to support gRPC-based load testing. So both TCP and gRPC. And yep, if someone was going to say something, feel free to jump in. I'm just going to bring up the performance page. Start up Meshery and bring it up. Great. So in the performance page today, when you do a test here, it's HTTP traffic using one of these two load generators. I believe both of them are capable of more than this. And maybe have support for like gRPC already. So this is Fort.io. This is the first load generator that we were using. And it's really, the reason that we used it is because it was made by the same team that's, the same folks that are making Istio. And so it was convenient enough for us to use. Ultimately, we've been talking with that team for a long time, the Istio performance testing team. We've been talking with them for a long time about the use of Meshery in the release process of Istio. And that team has agreed to use Meshery in that process. So we want to make sure that we're getting the full support of Fort.io. We're building in the full support of what Fort.io is capable of so that they can do that. They can use Meshery. So it says, Fort.io also includes a set of server-side features to help debugging and testing. So it'll do a request echo back, including headers, adding latency error codes. So it does TCP proxying and gRPC echo and health. So that's what that issue is about. Shubham, do you have, there's another issue for gRPC testing. Shubham, as you looked at this, have you, are you familiar enough with the code base that you want to ask some questions about it or kind of walk through something?
No, currently I'm outside and attending the meeting in phone.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I can talk about this much in much depth in the Friday meeting, like in next Wednesday meeting maybe.
Sounds good. Yep, sounds good. Yeah, and hopefully, um, hopefully we can make sure that Garish is on the call so that so he can help speak to this as well. I think he has a conflicting meeting going on right now. So, and so yeah, Sachin, someone else has brought up Vegeta in the past, which looks and it looks great, uh, and is one of those things that since we've got two load balancers, two load generators built into Meshery, um, our intention was to provide an interface behind which any other load generators can be brought as well. So it would be a wonderful project to bring support for Vegeta here, yeah, as a supported load generator.
Hmm.
And so, um, so Sachin, I don't know if is this an area of interest for you? Is this uh, maybe too much to jump into right now, or is this
I haven't looked at the backend yet. I'm still in the process of learning Go.
sure?
It's not my forte. So
Yeah, I mean,
it will take me some time to get familiar with the backend and start coding in it.
yeah, then maybe this is not the. Yeah, very good.
But I'm interested in it.
Totally.
Like, I'll sit with some other guy who is experienced in it. Implement something in it at least.
Makes a ton of sense. I get the sentiment that you're conveying, which is it's an interesting thing. You'd like to learn it, take a crack at it, enhance it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, maybe it's not the one to take on right now.
Right now.
Yeah. I think that Sachin, if you would actually, you're not the first person to bring up the potential support for Vegeta. Could you mind filing an issue to so we just keep track of the fact that that would be a nice to have.
Definitely.
Okay. And then Ashish, you'd commented, made a couple of comments. But one of those being that the image on the Meshery IO landing page needs to be updated. You're totally right. For a few different reasons. That yeah, Ashish, like actually an issue. If you would file an issue there as well, that would be great. We can do a new snapshot because not only have the colors changed inside of that page in Meshery, but also we've added the Citrix adapter. And actually, Ashish and anyone else, as you think about it, as you look at just Meshery.io, well, it's pretty good, but it actually doesn't highlight some features that are within the project. Features like it's great that it's got this snapshot. This is a great snapshot showing you how you can compare, latency and things, but it actually doesn't show you how at the same time you could be having a bunch of other infrastructures any other metrics that you want to track at the same time that you could be showing those. So because Meshery connects up to Prometheus and Grafana, but you don't see any mention of that on the site here. So Like there's a number of features that we should describe. Another thing, and so we should actually probably we should make an issue about that. I just closed up I just closed out the meeting minutes. Let me pull those back up. So an issue about a new screenshot, an issue about documenting the fact that there's support for Prometheus and Grafana, and kind of helping people understand what that is. Granted, the Meshery.io doesn't need to go through every single feature ad nauseum, because that's kind of what, that's what the documentation is for. But Meshery.io should be compelling enough and warm enough and welcoming enough that it encourages people to join us and to, join the project. So another point there is that on the community portion of Meshery.io, this is great. It calls out many of you. As a matter of fact, if you're on this call and you're not here, then it's probably time to put you up there, because I know each of you have already put some skin in the game, so to speak. Each of you have already done a few things. So, but one thing that's kind of missing here is you go to the community page and it says, hey, there's a bunch of people working on this, and that's great. And at the bottom it says, here's how you can connect, and this is good. Although, and that's great, we should leave that there. But we also kind of need it right up here, like to just tell people, at least just one button says join Slack, or jump in. That's another thing we could add. It's kind of the same thing like on layer 5 IO, is that what we have is these little like engagement icons, these engagement buttons. We could literally reuse just the same buttons here back at the top here, just to let people know how they can get connected. So okay, so some Meshery IO updates. All right, who else has got something going on that they want to talk about, or who doesn't have something that they're working on that but you're looking for?
Hello, sir.
Hey, Gunjan.
Sir, actually, right now I'm not working on any thing. So today I assigned myself some UI issue, and I will solve the issue by today. So, sir, actually, right now I'm making me familiar with Docker related stuff. So I have one question that. So when I get using any image or container, so do I need to think about the security of that image or something related thing?
Yeah. So that's actually that's an applicable question just for Meshery's container images themselves. But those Meshery container images have many layers, and those layers have many dependencies, many other libraries and projects built into them, and their security is not always guaranteed. So today, I don't believe that we are running any security assessments on those images, like static analysis of the images themselves. But that would be good if we were doing that. There's some open source tools to do that with. There's a few different vendors in the space. So the things like, Twistlock is one that I was an advisor of. They've been acquired by Palo Alto now. But Aquasec is there, Anchor, and CoreOS had released I forget the name of it, but an open source image scanning tool. Claire. It's called Claire. Yeah, I mean, just for the health of the project, is that something that we should be doing? Was that your question, Gunjan? Or
So actually, I think I'm facing some internet issue here. So you are not able to miss the test.
oh, um, um, yeah, image scanning, container image scanning is something that we should be doing. Okay, so Gunjan, just if you want to update part of your thinking here, that would be good. Recently, Kush, who some of you might have met in Slack, had suggested that we use Netlify to help with some of the reviews that we do for the Jekyll-based sites that we have, and that's a good suggestion. And we're going to go forward and try that out. So yeah, keep suggestions like that coming. We should some of the tooling around the project needs to improve. Okay.
Answer one more question I have.
Yep.
So, sir, may I present my screen?
Please.
Sir, is this screen? Can you see my screen?
Yep, you can see it.
So, sir, in this section, I passed this static check and fate and test. So I left with error check and security check. So here you can see that there are the one line errors. I'm not getting what is the error here. Here is saying the process completed with exit code to 1.
Right. Let me zoom in real quick. Okay, so
Artist, can you share the link?
Yes. There is a problem in ci.yml file.
okay, so all right. So for the Linkerd adapter for that repo, we have enabled a couple of new Go-based build checks or build time checks. And so one of those is for certain types of errors. Another one is for certain types of security concerns. And so yeah, and for the rest of the adapters, we need to enable these as well. But basically, these build checks need to be. We need to work through each of these. So for like the Linkerd adapter is an example of one of its latest builds. It failed in 3 places. It fails on this error check, this security check, and the build check. It's unfortunate that it's failing here, which it looks like that means it looks like then it's the build is failing overall, and so the adapter itself is not being built. I'm going to rerun these jobs just to make okay. Actually, it looks like, hey, there's a problem requesting jobs from GitHub Actions you can't perform. I wonder if that is because the file itself is having issues. If the YAML itself is not valid, that could be an issue, because we had updated this one quite a bit, and some of it was just that the YAML was not. You can't perform that action at this time. That's interesting. So if we, just as a quick check, because I know we were having some YAML formatting issues, if we go and take this YAML and paste it into this YAML validator, it says it's valid YAML, so that shouldn't be the issue. If we go back to the repo and to this actions section, why is it not letting us rerun the workflow, I wonder? I don't know if there's just an issue going, GitHub has a current issue or what. So Gunjan, I don't know if that really helps in answering your question, other than just, I think the YAML is valid, but it has been updated recently.
Okay, sir. So, sir, is this problem in this line? Run group proxy direct.
Right. So I'll go back. I'll go back to your link. So I think your question, Gunjan, is like, hey, this specific issue, this specific error.
Yes, sir. So, is this error is for this line run group proxy direct?
You know, honestly, I'm not sure what's. I think there's an overall, like the different checks here, the security check, it might be failing, and we might need to go change the way that we've written some of the code to make sure that we're writing code in a secure way. But the issue right now is that the build itself is failing, which looks like when it last ran, it wasn't able to pull some of the dependencies. So it's a bit confusing because the error code doesn't really tell you what you need to know to fix these issues. So I'm not sure, like, honestly, this needs to be rerun again in order to get any kind of a usable. Looks like now I've been able to run it successfully again, so let's see what it does. But Sachin, as you get familiar with the code base as well, this type of issue is a good one to maybe try to take on, because the project previously didn't really have all of the static analysis, all of the static checks that could be run for Go. They weren't turned on, and we're just recently turning on some of these. So the security check and others. So these error check is what's being run right now. And yeah, if it does have issues, it'll report the output of error check here, and we would want to go fix those things. So maybe while that's running, I did want to say to Nitin that we had recently added this notion of a provider inside of Meshery. So when you sign into Meshery, you'll see this choice of using a local provider or a cloud provider. And recently, Nikhil put both of these choices into one dropdown, and that's great. but right now there's only two choices, and we actually need to add a couple of more choices. When we do, these other two choices, they won't be functional just yet, but the new choices will need to be um, the University of Austin, Texas, because they're going to be, they will be a provider as well, and then potentially UEM Jaipur, depending upon how our discussions go. And so my
Can I interrupt you with- Can I say something?
yeah, please.
Yeah, can we have one single button, but with more larger than this one, and it can have a drop down and select the other thing.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, if for any of you that are running Meshery right now, if you pull down the latest version of Meshery, it should look like this. It should now look like this. So I've just refreshed my screen, and so it has now, the latest version does consolidate those into one dropdown. The default provider really should be this Meshery Cloud. It's free for everyone to use, and it gives people a lot better experience than the local provider. So when you run the local provider, um, none of the, see how you're not logged in now? Any of the things that you've configured, any of your preferences, like preferences here, or the what Kubernetes you're connected to, what adapters you have going, and any of your test results, you can't pull them up because it's not storing them, because there is no provider. But when you sign in, if you choose the Meshery cloud provider, it will ask you to authenticate, and I already have, so it'll log me in. So that's the avatar that you see there, and then it'll remember things so that you can go pull back tests that you've done. So last time I was giving an O'Reilly training, I ran a couple of tests, and now it'll pull them back up for me. And so Nidin, I think that there are a couple of enhancements that are needed on that login screen. One of those is
I'll be
just,
taking a look at it. Yeah.
oh, nice, okay. Thanks. Yeah, the thing that we need to do is basically change the verbiage of default local provider to just say no provider, because that will be more clear to people what that means.
Okay.
The second thing that we need to,
And can we put the Meshery cloud provider on top and default? Like if they want to change it, they can put a drop down and then change it.
totally, that makes, yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Maybe a third thing, if you would, is to add another provider called UT Austin for University of Texas Austin. When you do, and I think that's straightforward and simple enough to add another item in the list. The challenge, or like, here's a special challenge around that third one, is we want to let people know that we're partnering with the university, and that soon they'll be able to choose the university as an option. But right now it won't work. So when you put in that third listing, let me put it here, like either UT Austin, or if it fits, great, University of Texas. Great, but what we'll need, the user experience will need to be such that, like, either it's a disabled choice so that they can see the fact that it's there but not choose it, because it won't work at the moment.
I got it.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, it should be some kind of gray and not active. Yeah, like this one.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Ooh, nice. And Ashish had to take off, so I good. Well, guys, what else did we want to talk about today? What did we miss? I'm gonna catch up with Garish, who I think has a conflicting meeting at this time now. We'll see if maybe we can bump this to either a different day or an hour earlier, hour later.
Yep, sure. And next thing I'll be looking at the UI part and the workshop page, and soon after that I have some other doubt. Like I'm just going through the UI. No, not the UI. The backend part. I'm just learning it. So I have some doubts. I'll be asking you through Slack.
Please.
So please be available. Yeah, you are always available. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah, no. Nice. And then for Sachin, just as you go to get your foothold as well, do you know where you will be focusing some of your time?
Looking around with the issues, and maybe if you have anything in your mind, you can assign me.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yep. There's a couple of them that are lower hanging, I would say, that are back end in nature that would probably work pretty well. Do you have both of you guys been able to get your development environments functional? Like, have you been able to build the Meshery project?
Yeah, I was able to build the Meshery, but there are some doubts regarding the Kubernetes 1.16 version manifest. Like the Meshery was up, but the adapter was not able to be initialized or ready
Yeah, interesting.
in the ready state in the version 1.16 manifest.
Yeah.
Did you face anything similar?
That's a great. I haven't, but that's maybe because I'm just not running it in Kubernetes often enough. Do you recall? You said it was not in a ready state, but
Yeah,
do you recall what specific? If there was a specific event?
error. No, I don't. I forgot that.
So right now I'm running 1.7. No, I'm running 1.15 on the server side. Yeah, I may if you can, if you see that error message again, then
I'll put up an issue.
okay, nice. Okay, very good.
Also, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So, whenever we run Meshery CTL or Meshery CLI, it always spawns the Docker compose images and it runs in a machine Docker environment. What if we have a Kubernetes environment already running, like a local cluster by a kind or minikube? We can put up a check in mesh itself that yeah, we are on a cluster itself, local cluster or a singular cluster, and you can spin up the same machine. You can deploy the manifest from the machine. We already have the files.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. There's some work that's in flight. Actually, maybe that's the right thing for you to jump into. Is that uh, there's a proposal for what Meshery CTL would look like if from Meshery there's a couple of things. So one, let me share the screen. Inside of when you're running Meshery and the UI is up, I think you're already familiar with the fact that you can choose to, you can upload your kube config and
Yeah.
okay, and if you're running
Local.
yeah, it'll detect that, right? If you're running in cluster, it'll detect that you're running in cluster.
It should be able to do it automatically. Like minify my kubeconfig, upload it to a temporary directory or something, or users path, like home path.
Right. So it does. And so it does do that today. It does detect. It'll look to the user's home folder and pull in the kube config, and in my case, it grabs Docker Desktop as my, the current context, my current cluster. But it'll also, if you're running Meshery, if you deploy Meshery on a Kubernetes cluster, it should automatically detect that it's running in this mode. So there's two
It
modes.
does. It
Okay.
does. It does. Yeah, whether it's kind or Minikube, it did with me at least.
Nice.
It automatically detected the cluster, and
But further than, okay, good. So that's working. Okay, good. And then further than that, part of what the point that you're making is that, hey, when you're running Meshery CTL start, it might be nice that maybe you've got multiple environments.
from the user whether he wants to run it in a Kubernetes environment or a Docker environment.
Totally.
If
Yep, totally. So there's a design spec out there for this very thing. And what it highlights is, and actually I think there's an open PR on this as well. What it highlights is what the syntax structure should be for that very thing. So today it's Meshery CTL start, but maybe that should be Meshery CTL, like right down here. I'll put this in the meeting minutes.
oh, got it.
It's kind of like, hey, should it be dash dash Docker or dash dash Kubernetes, or like, hey, instead of that, should there be like should it be something like this, Meshery CTL dash start dash P for platform Kubernetes. Part of the reason that maybe it shouldn't just be a flag, maybe is that we need to consider that Meshery CTL, you'll ultimately be able to do things like deploy service mesh Istio, or so, but should that be deploy, or should that just be start service mesh Istio with a dash, with a like this? Or anyway, we need to give some thought as to like, hey, should we have a start and a run and a deploy, or not? And so this document, like, if you would give some thought, put some thought into this document, and then there's some active issues and an open PR, I think, from MyInc that takes a crack at this. Maybe it's just an issue. Yeah, here it is. So I'll put this into the meeting minutes as well. Both of these. So Sachin, does that help? That makes some sense?
Yes, a lot. I mean, more than 50% of the work is already being done. We just have to put the right functions together.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic thing to do. As a matter of fact, Sachin, I'll say this, that we're actively preparing for a KubeCon talk on performance testing, and part of the issue in us preparing for it is the fact that we don't have this functionality, Meshery test. Yeah, and it's very much needed because all of the tests that are being run, they're being run programmatically. So let me, as you think about and get more familiar with Meshery CTL, let me describe let me get you some additional info and connect you with some of the other people in the community, and maybe see if this isn't a good thing to go take on, because we need it. So
okay,
nice. Okay. Well, I know we went a little bit over. Anybody have anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay, nice. Good. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on Friday. And Sachin, we'll be chatting in Slack and things more. So cool. Okay. Talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.